Welcome back to English 4.0, the radio show. Let's go! Advanced. Hello and welcome back to the advanced portion of today's show. Here we are in class number 172. Continuing on, getting started with a little review. And I can also mention something that I commented on back in, well, I think it was yesterday, in the beginner class, in the beginner portion of the show. The first 20 minutes I mentioned the importance of practice, repeat. Well, with everything, but in the case of pronunciation and developing good pronunciation habits. And this is something that is always important, but important at the advanced level as well, because if you speak grammatically perfect, but your pronunciation is terrible, it will really take away from your effectiveness and your overall, well, maybe not your effectiveness, but your overall presentation of the language. So you want to be able to present the language in a professional manner as well, and that includes pronouncing things properly. Now, there's a difference between accent and pronunciation. You'll always have a Spanish accent, just like I will always have an English accent, like a giddy, let's say, accent when I speak Spanish. I've acknowledged that, and I know that. But there's a difference between accent and pronunciation. So make sure that you're on the right side, you're on the safe side of that division, and that you're speaking with an acceptable accent and with proper pronunciation. So what you have to do is repeat. Practice. And for example, you can practice structures and questions. I asked the question to the students. I said, does Bruce Springsteen speak Spanish? ¿Cómo? Does Bruce Springsteen speak Spanish? Now, ask me that question. Kyle, does Bruce Springsteen... Now, Bruce, it ends with a C-E, but it sounds like an S. So we will link the sounds. Bruce Springsteen. Bruce Springsteen. Kyle, does Bruce Springsteen speak Spanish? Spanish, not Spanish. No, but Spanish. No, Bruce Springsteen doesn't speak Spanish. So make sentences like that and ask yourself those questions and repeat, because you should know, you must know what it should sound like, and that is the S sound with no action in the vocal cords. The vocal cords are mute. That is, they are not activated. So it's not There's no us. No, it's s. Bruce Springsteen speaks Spanish. Yes, Bruce Springsteen speaks Spanish. Or no, Bruce Springsteen doesn't speak Spanish. So practice. Repeat those structures over and over until you can pronounce them properly, and that will add significantly to your overall presentation of language. Now let's move on. And in fact, that's something I had questions. I had some students write in. In fact, well, one listener in particular who wrote me, and I'm sorry, I apologize, I can't remember your name, but it was a listener, I believe, from Asturias who wrote an email to me just last week asking about tricks for pronunciation. Kyle, help me with my pronunciation. And I gave him some tips, but basically what I told him is that you have to practice over and over and over. It's like everything else. Practice makes perfect. Okay? So keep repeating, keep practicing, and part of practicing is, well, reviewing. So let's go back and take a look at yesterday's content. We were practicing yesterday with questions involving the question word where. Donde? Where? So let's practice with my favorite activity, Well, quite possibly my favorite activity, which is the mastering the interrogative. This is the exercise where I will give you the answer to a question, and I'd like you to ask me the question that I've answered. That is, I say, he was born in Vancouver. And you say, where was he born? You can ask me, where was he born? Oh, he was born in Vancouver. ¿Dónde? Where? 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 Okay. Okay. I left my keys on the coffee table. Where did you leave your keys? Where did you leave your keys, Kyle? Oh, I left them on the coffee table. I was a bit absent-minded. I forgot them. I left them on the coffee table. He found his phone under the chair. Where did he find his phone? Under the chair. Whitehorse is in the northwest of Canada. That's true. Whitehorse. Kyle, where is Whitehorse? Caballo Blanco, Whitehorse. Whitehorse is the capital of the Yukon Territory in the northwest of Canada. It's next to Alaska. I have an aunt who lives there. It's a very interesting place. Whitehorse. If you're looking for an adventure, I encourage you to go to Whitehorse. If you love nature, just go in the summer, because in the winter it's too cold. It could be 35 degrees below zero. But go in the summer and it's beautiful, I promise. Whitehorse, yeah. Okay, she said they would meet at the main entrance. Where did she say they would meet? That's right. So the question, where did she say they would meet? We're going to keep it in the refrigerator. And the question, where are you going to keep it? Oh, we're going to keep it in the refrigerator. I would have been in the office if they had needed me. Where would you have been if they had needed you? Ooh. Where would you have been if they had needed you? The third conditional. Where would you have been, Kyle, if they had needed you? Well, I would have been in the office if they had needed me. Okay. He works in the head office. Where does he work? Fitz, for example, he works in the head office. Really? Where does he work? Yeah, he works in the head office. He drove to Paris. To Paris. Where? To Paris. Where? To Paris. Where did he drive? Is the question. Where did he drive? He drove to Paris. Right? So also, if I said he drove to Paris, you could say, how did he get to Paris? But here I'm saying he drove to Paris. Where? So I'm emphasizing Paris. So the question is, must place the intonation. Well, the answer puts the intonation on Paris, so it's the location that I'm asking for. So where? Intonation is very important. I was at home last night. Where were you last night? Kyle, where were you last night? I was at home. Okay. Now, the second thing that we saw in the last class, we were practicing with the past continuous. So we had some scenarios, some cases where I gave you three people, and here we can practice with this. I'll give you a sentence, I'll give you some information in the present continuous, and I want you to change it back to the past continuous, as if we're talking about something that was true at a moment yesterday. So what we're doing is we're looking at a specific moment in the past. Like yesterday when my phone rang, I was sitting on the balcony. I was sitting on the balcony when the phone rang. Okay? So here I'm going to give you the present continuous and I want you to change it to the past. I'm sitting on the bus. Alberto is working on his computer and Richard is holding a meeting. So imagine this is all yesterday. What was happening? Yesterday at 5 o'clock, what was happening? I was sitting on the bus, or Kyle was sitting on the bus. Alberto was working on his computer, and Richard was holding a meeting. So all we're doing is changing the verb to be. So we always have, in the present continuous, we have the verb to be. But here, the verb to be just changes to the simple past, no problem. Here, at the moment, Fitz is writing an email, Natasha is calling a teacher, and Layla is teaching a class. So in the past, yesterday at 3 o'clock, Fitz was writing an email. Natasha, do you remember what she was doing? She was calling a teacher, and Layla was teaching a class. Now, at 10 o'clock, well, right now, for example, David is preparing a book, Carmen is editing a text, and Hannah is practicing with her band. She's playing music with her band. Now, what was happening yesterday at 7 o'clock? David was preparing a book. Carmen was editing a text. And Hannah was practicing with her band. So there you go, the past continuous. All right, let's move on now and take a look at our expression of the day. Expression of the day. Ah, yes, our expression of the day today is icing on the cake. Icing on the cake. Sometimes when you have a birthday cake, you have sweet, sweet icing, like the sweet cream that is on top of the icing. That is on top of the cake. So that's the icing. That sweet, that extra sweet stuff on the top of the cake. So the expression icing on the cake is something that makes something that's already good even better. Yes, because cake, I love cake. I love chocolate cake, even without icing. But if you add icing, it's incredible. It's the icing on the cake. So imagine he gets offered a new job. He says, the new job is incredible. He's working with wonderful people. He has his own corner office, and the icing on the cake is that he's earning twice as much money. Wow, that's the icing on the cake. It's the ultimate, it's the final additional thing that makes it even better. The icing on the cake. All right, so there we have our expression of the day, icing on the cake. Now, as we move into class number 172, we see the phrasal verb to give up, which is dejar de hacer algo, to give up. It's essentially like to quit, to give up smoking, for example. Is it easy to give up smoking? No, Kyle, it isn't easy to give up smoking. So this is a separable phrasal verb, to give up smoking, to give it up. It was difficult for me to give it up. People say it's very difficult to give up smoking. Have you ever given up smoking? Have you ever given... No, Kyle, I've never given up smoking. Have you ever given anything up that was really difficult to give up? Yes, I've given up some things, maybe some things that were difficult to give up. So to give up, essentially to quit. Now, when we quit, there are different ways. I remember my uncle talking about quitting or giving up smoking. And he gave up smoking, he said, cold turkey, like pavo frio, cold turkey. To give something up cold turkey, this is an expression, of course, but to give up cold turkey means to stop abruptly, immediately. We have also the verb to wean. To wean, you wean yourself off something, means to gradually reduce. So if you wean yourself off smoking, then maybe you go from, let's say you start by smoking 1 pack a day, a pack of cigarettes per day. If you wean yourself off, then you go down to, say, 15 cigarettes for a week, then to 10, then to 5, then to 2, then to 1, then to 1 every 2 days, then 0. You wean yourself off. To gradually reduce, to wean yourself off something, or to wean a person off something. Whereas to quit cold turkey means to one day you're at full capacity, smoking as much as you always do, and then you say, that's it, ya está, lo dejo. I'm quitting right now. I'm stopping, and you quit. You give up immediately. Cold turkey. You go from 100% to 0. My grandfather quit smoking cold turkey. Yes. And some people like to quit cold turkey. Some people like to wean themselves off. I think maybe it might actually be easier to quit cold turkey. Because if you wean yourself off, this is just me thinking out loud, but I think if you wean yourself off, you have a lot to think about. Well, how many am I allowed to smoke today? 2, 3. Is it cheating if I smoke 4? It's still a little bit less than yesterday, so maybe it's okay. But if you quit cold turkey, you say, I'm not smoking anymore. It's very black and white. We say it's black and white. Either you smoke or you don't, and you decide to quit smoking, and that's it. Well, so to quit, to give up smoking. Dejar de hacer algo, to give up. I'm trying to give up caffeine. Yeah, I'm trying to cut, at least significantly reduce my caffeine consumption. Maybe give up completely caffeine. I think it would be a good, healthy decision for me. Let's move on now and take a look at our vocabulary of the day. Vocabulary of the day. All right, it's time now for the vocabulary of the day. Our 5 words of vocabulary. No vale la pena is our first word or term, I should say. It's not worth it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. No vale la pena. It's not worth it. It is not. It's contracted. It's not worth it. Permisivo. Permisivo, we say lenient. Lenient. Probabilidad. Probabilidad. This is likelihood. Likelihood. What is the likelihood of us having time to review numbers today? The next point is a number review. Numbers, but the likelihood of us having time is, well, it's not very good. The likelihood is very small. It's unlikely that we'll have time to review numbers today. We'll have to do it tomorrow. A largo plazo. This is long term. Long term. The long-term results have been good. Long term. If you study hard, your long-term results will be good, I promise. Fuerza laboral. Fuerza laboral. This is manpower. We say manpower. And as I said, we have run out of time. I would like to review numbers. This is our last point, but we're out of time, so we will review this tomorrow. Be sure to tune in and listen because I will give you some important information about reading and writing and pronouncing numbers in English, okay? So please join me tomorrow at the same time, same place, and I will explain all those rules to you, and we will review them. Because it's very important for your work. If you work with numbers, you have to know how to read them and write them properly, okay? So that will be done tomorrow in class. We will look at that. Please join me again tomorrow at the same time. Please keep studying, keep working hard. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.